Welcome back to our second HubSpot User Group for 2025. My name is Trav, and it's great to see you guys here again. Today we are welcomed by Jayden Hellier. He's our digital project manager here at Neighborhood, but he's going to take us all through the things Shopify and HubSpot. So if you do have a Shopify account and you are looking at sort of utilizing it better within your organization, this is a really great HubSpot user group for you to be a part of. Now, just a couple of housekeeping items. If I sound like I'm talking underwater, I probably got the worst man flu known to man, so excuse my voice, or there might be pops or coughing pops halfway through. That might be it. Jayden, you're now infected with whatever my man flu.
Yeah.
Actually, now you just got back from Japan, so you had it.
Yeah, I've got a little bit as well, so I think I'm going to be doing a few mini coughs to the side as well.
Awesome,
so.
yeah, awesome. Chloe, you will now get influenza after this. So apologies about that. But as always, if you have a question about it and you are watching this live, on the chat on this, on the right-hand side that you can kind of see here, feel free to ask questions about the topic that we're talking about today. We'll answer live and do as best as we can to get the answer across to you. But if you are watching the recording, down there is where you can ask some questions and we'll get those answers usually back to you within 24 hours. But we're here to help you guys out. The HubSpot User Group was kind of built more as a free online community for those that use HubSpot and really sort of looking to help people use their HubSpot accounts a little bit better. So I think that is some pretty good housekeeping to get things underway. I think for today, it's really about Shopify and how Shopify works with HubSpot specifically. Now, if you are using it day to day, you probably get a relatively good idea. If you're using HubSpot and Shopify roughly around about maybe 2 years ago, it is vastly improved since what it was. Obviously with the use of custom objects, it's now bringing in orders and not deals as well. So it's a lot better interface and it's a lot better to use in regards to managing the CRM specifically for Shopify as well. So as I mentioned, Jayden Hellier is one of our digital project managers. How are you doing?
Good. How are you going?
This is the very first HubSpot user group that you've been a part of.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
How do you feel?
Yeah, pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty confident. I think we can definitely look through Shopify.
Nice.
I think it'll be good.
Nice. Jayden just had his Bucks party in Japan, so how'd that
go? Good. Still feeling a little rough coming back from it. I think it was probably maybe the world's longest bucks, so 3-week bucks in Japan. So
nice.
Can't really complain about that.
Nice. Well, welcome back, mate. Well, today we're going to cover, I think, a few things that you've got here is, I guess, Shopify itself, the data sync that you've got, kind of how that works within HubSpot, I think, which is what you've put down here. Products and order sync, cart sync, contacts and company sync as well. We'll kind of look at reporting and some workflow automations that you can do as well. On top of that, we've probably got a few lists, any recent updates, etc. And then the brand new updates that came out literally not too long ago as well that are going to really help. I feel like it should have come out. I say that in every hug as well. I feel like it should have come out years ago, but there are a few recent updates with the integration and also the HubSpot infrastructure that I think you can stick around to towards the end as well. Or if you are watching the recording, it's just in the chapters right at the end. You'll already know, you can scrub to there as well. But I think to get things kicked off, for those playing at home that have got no idea what Shopify is, and we'll keep it really brief, because if you don't know what Shopify is, they're doing a pretty bad job of marketing, and I think they're doing a good job. So you just overall, like, what's Shopify, just in a very, very short stance?
Essentially, Shopify is just sort of like an online e-commerce platform that makes it really easy to set up a shop. Like anyone can sort of jump into Shopify. I think when you set up, you kind of get like a free month or two, and you can kind of create your own sort of digital shop front. And obviously you can sell products there and sort of makes it really easy for anyone to start a business for themselves as well.
Nice. I think actually, maybe we can put it up on the screen. I think during COVID, I did a webinar on how to set up a Shopify day in one store. This is the cold and flu tablets coming in. How to set up a Shopify store in one day. And basically, I think if you want to put it up there, it basically stepped through setting it up and just, getting it out of the water and then basically just sort of choosing a theme and running it out. I think a lot's improved from Shopify and also from HubSpot since COVID, which I think was 5 years ago.
Which
Weird.
feels, wild.
Weird to say that. But yeah, it's just for anybody to sort it up. And I think to say that as well, it's from people selling their own t-shirts or socks or whatever out of the back, out of the spare room. But we're talking even enterprise as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can sort of, even they've got a lot of updates recently where you can actually have, like, tag it onto physical stores as well. So they've got sort of some, at least physical apps you can now use on your iPad that you can sort of add into like a physical store. So people can go in, order on the iPad and sends that order straight to the store.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about HubSpot and Shopify. I think I sort of mentioned a little while ago that it was very, very complex back in the day. I think when HubSpot and Shopify used to sync, whenever there was an order, it would create a deal. Yeah. And they would have an e-commerce pipeline, but then they brought in the seats and then it was just a really weird sort of mix. So can you talk to us about how both Shopify and HubSpot kind of work together hand in hand as well?
Yeah, definitely. So pretty much the way it works now is there's sort of an app you can get from the App Store, and it's just essentially a data sync between the two.
Yeah.
Some of the aspects are a one-way sync from Shopify over to HubSpot, and some of them go two-way. So you've got orders coming in on Shopify, and they come straight over to orders in HubSpot. So the terminology is the same now. Previously, it was orders to deals. Obviously, that can create a little bit of confusion just with that terminology. Yeah. But now it's orders to orders. And then you've got customers to contacts, and that can actually be a two-way sync now as well. Nice. So that'll kind of go back and forth. You've also got products that sync back and forth between Shopify and HubSpot. And then you've also got sort of abandoned carts. So anyone that sort of starts a cart in Shopify, doesn't quite finish it, that'll go straight over into HubSpot. Then you can sort of target them with sort of some workflows and automation there to send those emails and marketing campaigns as well, just to offer them discounts per se or something.
So I think in saying that, using all the automation tools is like good. So we could obviously, off the top of my dome, just sort of like if somebody orders a couple of times, we can then sort of use the workflow tools to sort of thank them for their second, third, fourth order.
Yep.
But I assume with that as well, with having the customer to contact sync as well, we'll be able to get a history of their buying history, but also specifically have some custom properties that we can go through, help out with reporting. We can go through and maybe in that reporting aspect, get a granular detail in regards to maybe lifetime value, average order value, things that I guess probably Shopify doesn't give you from a high level. I think from a high level, the analytics, in my opinion, is pretty high level, but I guess that HubSpot integration would be able to get you to deep dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I think Shopify does it at a very high level. You can kind of get a few basic analytics and reports on there, but when you sort of sync that data over to HubSpot, you can get a lot more granular with the reports and dashboards and provide a bit more information.
Nice. And then you can probably bolster some of those apps on as well, like SMS and a whole bunch of other sort of platforms as well inside HubSpot, to be able to leverage that data coming over from Shopify itself as well.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. And there was even a recent update, I think, came in maybe in the last week or two into HubSpot that kind of plays into the Shopify one as well. We've got anniversary dates, so you can sort of target the first time someone's actually purchased for you, and then so you can sort of send them, like, use those marketing campaigns to kind of target them and go, oh, it's been 1 year since you purchased your first item, here's a discount.
Nice. That was what we were going to mention at the end of the video. So there you go, there's a nugget, there's another one. Jump into the platform, because it's probably good to see, like, stop watching us gas bag, and probably just jump into the platform itself. One of the first things that sort of mentioned was the order sync, and I think how we had it back in the day was that every single order that would come up would go ahead and create a deal, but in this instance, it's something a little bit different. So are you able to show us, like, for example, when an order is created, what do we see inside HubSpot? And maybe, actually, let's roll back a little bit. What does it look like when we go up and connect the sync up into Shopify? That's probably a good start.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so if you go into your settings and then navigate to the apps, we can go to the app marketplace. And look for the Shopify data sync. There's a few different options here. I would probably always recommend going with the one from HubSpot. A few of the other sort of companies will create their own and probably sort of charge you money for it. So you can always just be safe, just go with the standard one. So the one with the Shopify logo.
I think some of them have other features as well. It's worth having a look at them. Today we're going to show you the one that was built by HubSpot specifically, I think. But yeah, some of them are paywalled as well.
Yeah, exactly. So once you click on the one by Shopify, just make sure it is the one by HubSpot. You can always look here of the provider that it is the HubSpot one, and then you just install that app and go through all the different settings. An important part about installing that app is you need to link it to your Shopify domain or website. To find sort of that subdomain link, you'd have to navigate in Shopify to your online store, which you can get to from here. And you just press this button here to view your online store. Once that's open, and you can see my brilliant store of Jay's sneakers here.
Nice.
You can grab this sort of link beforehand. Having a few issues here. And this will be what you need to implement and add into that sort of integration. That's sort of the little bit that you need. It'll say mbh.test.myshopify.com. Obviously that mbh test will be different for you.
It's whatever you kind of, I think, named the store when you set it up.
Yeah, exactly. Once that integration is turned on, you can navigate back to your connected apps. And you should have a Shopify data sync here. If you click on it, it'll bring up those settings and something that we spoke about earlier with the different orders and products and cart sync, contact sync and company sync. They're the 5 syncs that you can do with Shopify. And essentially you can decide which ones you want to turn on. So you can go through, set up an order sync, set up a product sync, cart sync, contact sync, and so on and so forth. Each of them needs to be set up separately. So you actually need to sort of redo the sync every single time. So just from initially, you'll set up that sync and it'll essentially, all of them kind of look like this. So you can see from one side, you've got the sync direction. So you've got the Shopify data sync for orders is a one-way sync just to HubSpot orders. It'll also show you all the fields that are mapped below and sort of where they link up from Shopify to HubSpot. There's a lot of default ones here. I recommend just keeping everything on, just letting Shopify sort of pick for you what data comes over. It's definitely the easiest thing. It makes it less granular for you as well, like not having to turn on certain things, turn off certain things. It's really straightforward like that. Once you've done the mapping, you go next. And here you actually line up sort of what HubSpot stage lines up to the data sync stage for the order. So when an order gets placed in Shopify, it'll start off in that sort of process stage or open stage. It generally, from my experience, it kind of either goes from the very much the draft order to then just being processed. So once an order has been created, it'll essentially sync straight over to HubSpot and go into the processed order deal stage. Or order stage, sorry.
I think it's something to note as well. I think that if we want to do along this whole data sync process, if we want to have any custom properties, we will require, I think, operations starter at least.
I think so, yeah.
So if your account specifically doesn't have the ability to do so, I'm sure there'll be a paywall thing popping up saying, click here to upgrade.
Yeah.
But you will need, I think, the operations starter just to be able to sort of do some custom syncing there. And I think that's across all integrations as well, like MailChimp or anything like that you've got. You will require that operations starter. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how much it is, but it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, I think a big one as well is the way sort of orders sync over. Once you kind of set up these other syncs as well, you can set up customer and contact sync. And I think a big thing is when an order is placed and there's a customer sort of connected, it will actually automatically associate that customer to the order. But a big thing, and I suppose that's sort of behind a paywall, is companies. So companies won't auto associate unless you have Shopify Plus, which I think is one of sort of the big later upgrades.
I think it's about $2,000 a month.
Yeah, something very, very expensive.
Yes. Because we're going to assume that you sell to businesses, so you make more money.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the Shopify Plus is that B2B platform. So that's where you kind of really need those companies to actually be associated. And with Shopify Plus, you can sort of do, companies can sort of place orders on behalf of the company and that sort of stuff. So that's when sort of companies will start associating as well. Once you continue going through these order syncs, essentially you get to the end and you'll essentially just review everything. But once you turn it on, that sync will happen pretty much instantaneously. And anytime an order is placed on Shopify, it'll essentially happen almost straight away. So as soon as that order is placed, you can probably give it a minute or two and it'll appear straight in HubSpot.
So we got the order sync. So obviously once the order gets placed inside Shopify, it'll get pushed across and then create the order. Can we see what that looks like inside HubSpot? Once it does?
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me your grievances with this specifically. I have issues.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing here is previously, as we mentioned, the legacy sync with Shopify, I think they call it now, used to create orders to deals. And they've sort of changed that to streamline it a little bit. I think more in terms of terminology, just so it's a bit more straightforward. You go orders to orders, just makes sense that way. But I think the biggest sort of grievance is when you navigate to deals, you go on the left-hand side here, you go to the CRM and you click deals. And that's very straightforward, super easy to get to. I think the biggest thing here is, as you can see, there's no orders available on the left-hand side here, and which makes it a little bit hard to find where orders will go. I think the easiest thing and the easiest way to get there would be to go through contacts.
I feel like they're gonna fix this. I just want to say that.
Yeah, I think they need to. Yeah,
you can't even bookmark it in the menu.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, definitely. So if you can navigate up here to contacts and click on it, you'll notice you can go through just the different options and different objects you have in HubSpot, including deals from here as well. But you'll also notice that orders is available in this list. And yeah, as Trav mentioned, you can't bookmark it in HubSpot per se, but I think the easiest thing here would be to bookmark it in your browser. It's probably the easiest way to sort of navigate the issue at the moment. I think they're definitely going to change it in the future with more people using the data sync and more people using the sync from Shopify to HubSpot, especially with how much data can actually come over. So I think the best thing we do, if you're using Chrome, you just go up here and bookmark it here. But this is essentially what an orders look like in the order pipeline that gets automatically created for you in HubSpot when you sort of start that sync going over.
And you could, back in the data, you could map out at what stage specifically inside Shopify is what lands in what column here.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously you can adjust these stages as well. So if you want to sort of adjust the pipeline stages yourself, you don't like the wording or anything like that, you can adjust these stages and still go through, then map where sort of, if it's processed in Shopify, it'll be processed in HubSpot.
So if you move the order, I'm going to say card, the deal, if you move the order to the next stage, it will move it to the next stage inside Shopify as well?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
So it's only a one-way sync.
Okay.
So for orders, it's only a one-way sync. So it won't do that. So I would recommend probably for any of these, this is more a visual thing. I would recommend always sort of working out of Shopify and using this as more of a visual guide.
Yeah.
Obviously with the data in HubSpot, you can use it for reports and workflows and everything like that. So you can use, so say if we have it from Shopify, updating Shopify, it'll sync over to HubSpot, and then we can sort of create those workflows. So when it automatically moves, say it moves to shipped, we can create a sort of a workflow email to be sent out as well.
I guess you can kind of like, when you were talking about that, you can kind of like work out how long things stay in specific stages as well.
Exactly.
So like if you're kind of like trying to go through the process and understand how you can make a business more efficient, is potentially get some real-time live data reporting on like how long it takes for the organization to get an order and then ship it, and really sort of closely manage that perspective. Because I know as a very long time e-commerce customer, but also having worked with a lot of them, I know from a customer standpoint is that you'll get a lot, your lifetime value will increase if like basically the order gets shipped quicker and they receive it quicker than they actually do. There are a few organizations out there that go ahead and sort of I just don't know how it can work, but like it takes 3 business days for them to go ahead and ship an order. I just think that's wild. And I think people's expectations on, this has got nothing to do with HubSpot, this is more so just around e-commerce, is that like, you know, being able to go ahead, there's an order I put in yesterday for a company up in Noosa, and like within the space of 5 minutes, I had a tracking number. This is my 4th order with that same one. I was just like, yeah, that's fantastic. Like it's really good, and it's on my door in 2 days specifically.
It's even when you do it through Amazon. Yeah. Like it's crazy that you can
I
sometimes,
get it the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's wild that you can order it. Say you order in the morning, it arrives in the morning, 24 hours later.
Yeah, I think in America you get it the same day as well.
Yeah,
you get it
which
within
is wild.
an hour or 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, specifically on that topic, I think it's really great because you can actually start to get a running total of when orders are placed through to when they're actually shipped. I think that's a really good sort of metric that might not be necessarily you probably get an app or something like that inside HubSpot, in Shopify, but in here we can not only have the average order value, we can custom make the metrics that we need to inside here, as well as communications, etc. But more so from an operations standpoint, actually see if we're trending up or trending down in regards to like getting the order out and shipped as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's like a few different reports you can do with sort of this information as well, because you can also, something I've always struggled with in Shopify a little bit in sort of their reporting is trying to find the most popular item or most sold item. They sort of like to show you a lot of the analytics on views and everything by default, whereas it's very easy to sort of set up that in HubSpot with that sort of product sync and line items coming over. It makes it really easy to actually track that.
Nice. So we're obviously this will be a snapshot into like where things are currently inside Shopify. Obviously, given another aspect that it syncs over is products.
Yeah.
So are you able to talk about products where we can see them and kind of what it looks like within the within HubSpot too?
Yeah, definitely. I'll just navigate back to the data sync. And if we go into products, it's obviously one of the 5 other options that you can sync over. And as I mentioned earlier, I would recommend probably just syncing sort of all this data, just so you get the most amount of data in HubSpot from Shopify. But if we go to that product sync, this sync is slightly different to how the orders work. I think it's just the biggest thing here is, unlike the order sync, which is a one-way sync from Shopify to HubSpot, you can actually set up products to be syncing between both apps. So if you create a product in Shopify, it'll sync over to HubSpot. And if you create a product in HubSpot, it'll actually sync back over to Shopify as well. An important thing here is you've got options now because it's a 2-way sync. And I think that's where it slightly differs from the original order sync, is you've got the option to do record matching. And I think the important thing here is to always keep this on. I would probably recommend sort of never turning that off, because if you do, you're going to get a lot of duplicates. You're going to get sort of stuff being created over in Shopify, moving over to HubSpot. And then if you sort of do something in HubSpot that's already you create a product in HubSpot that you know is already in Shopify, it's going to sync it over anyway. Because it's not looking for that name, so you're just going to get duplicates on both sides, just sort of doubling up, and it's going to get out of control really quickly. Another important thing is with the product sync coming over, when you set up products in Shopify, you can choose an SKU, and obviously you have a price point as well. And I think the biggest thing here is you can also create variations. So, for example, for Jay's sneakers, a very
up-and-coming brand.
With very cheap Sambas, the cheapest on the market. you can have different variations for shoes. So obviously you can have black shoes, you can have white shoes, and you can also have different shoe sizes, as most shoes come with. The important thing with the product sync here is that it doesn't actually sync over each of these variations as products. It'll just sync over sort of the high level product itself. So for me, it'll just sync over the Samba shoes, and it'll sort of give that price point and SKU of just whatever your primary variation is in Shopify. For shoes, pretty straightforward. My shoes don't vary in cost, so it's pretty easy for me to sync that over. But if you've got different sort of items that vary in price, you might want to think about what one you consider a primary variation or the primary item, and whether you want to create them as two different items on your store. Other than those two things, I think the product sync is relatively straightforward. It's very similar to the order sync. After that, you kind of go through. You can choose some filters here as well if you don't want to sync over all of the products and you only want to sync over particular products in general. You can add some filters in here from Shopify, particularly if you only want to sync over, say, for me, for example, I only want to sync over my black Samba shoes, and I don't want the white Samba shoes on my HubSpot. But from here, you kind of go through the settings, very much similar to the order sync. And then at the very end, you just got to make sure you hit that orange button in the top right corner so that it saves and starts syncing. And similar to the order sync, that'll happen almost instantaneously.
And then I think last but not least, the one that we mentioned as well, oh actually there's a couple more, is the cart sync. So I think this is going to be beneficial, probably mostly for abandoned.
Yeah.
But sort of, are you able to talk through what that looks like with the integration specifically?
Yeah, for sure. I'll open this up and then we can, I'll sort of go through and show where that syncs as well. So you've got Shopify data sync abandoned checkouts. So when someone goes onto your store, fills in all their details and then goes, nah, not interested, or sort of just leaves their computer open, or it goes flat maybe someone has a bad battery. It'll sort of capture all those details and then sort of sync that over to HubSpot. This is actually synced to another section. So I won't go through the integration too much as it's very similar to the order sync, kind of goes one way from Shopify over to HubSpot. All of the settings are relatively the same, and you just obviously go to the top right, review, and save that sync. I think the important thing is to identifying where this is, and unfortunately it's very similar to the orders, where you have to navigate to contacts, find the drop down at the top here, and find carts. So as you can see, we got an abandoned cart here from myself. Well, I wanted to buy my own sneakers, but I didn't quite finish the transaction on my Samba shoes. Good thing is that it's synced straight over and happens almost instantaneously. You might need about 5-10 minutes for the carts to come over, because I think it takes a little bit for Shopify to identify an abandoned cart, but as soon as they do, it comes straight over. And I suppose the good thing here is when we have that sort of contact sync or customer sync happening in the Shopify data sync, it'll associate that contact to that cart. So immediately from here, we know that we can sort of target them in a workflow.
Nice, and this record just looks like all the other records inside HubSpot too. So what does the activities look like?
Pretty straightforward, just the cart was created. You've got the name of it is just a sort of really long, almost identifier that just syncs over straight from.
And then you take that to sort of say the contact's abandoned cart is known.
Yeah.
And then kind of like then enroll that and let it do its thing.
Yeah. I think I can probably.
It's probably a good segue.
Well. Yeah. I think the biggest thing here is obviously there's multiple ways you can sort of do this. I know Shopify by default will sort of set up an abandoned cart sort of workflow for you when you create your store. So you can sort of use that workflow on Shopify if you want, but if you want to as we've mentioned throughout this, like be more granular with your sort of data. And if you want to keep all your data in HubSpot, I recommend just sort of letting that sync come over and doing it all through HubSpot. When you go to workflows, you can sort of, from here, you can create that abandoned cart sort of automated email. I just want to mention there is a template that you can use in here. You can find it by just searching sort of abandoned cart, and then there's a few placeholders throughout the sort of workflow template that you'll need to update. But for this example, I'm just going to sort of open up one that I've created earlier. So the main thing here is you can sort of trigger an enrollment on carts. So you can create sort of like a cart-based workflow. And it's very straightforward here. Obviously, when the sync comes over, there's the cart status that comes over, and the cart status will be abandoned. So for your trigger, it'll just be the status is equal to any of abandoned for carts, so pretty straightforward. At the moment, I've got it to delay for a day because you don't really want someone getting an email almost immediately. They've just sort of left the cart or left their computer on for 10 minutes and then you're firing an email off to them, just going, hurry up and check out. So you kind of want to wait that day, give them 24 hours or however long you want to create that delay for. And then sort of send that email that you've created as well to the associated contacts with the cart that's abandoned. So this workflow is pretty straightforward, so there's nothing too crazy there. And as I mentioned, the template will kind of get you almost there. You might just have to make a few tweaks similar to what I've got here.
It's probably a good segue to actually, so how do we use like those items? Like for example, if we're creating an email, how do we bring in that specific item in the email?
Yeah, so I might be able to just click straight on my email here and it goes straight there.
Because I assume, it's a loaded question, but I'm going to assume that there's some tools that we can bring in, like dynamic data from Shopify in there.
Yeah, definitely. So, but I'm hoping by the time you sort of watch this, that sort of this update is working. It's currently in beta, so it might be available soon. But there's still I'll still show you that update, and then there'll be some different things and different dynamic aspects we can bring into the email. So the biggest thing is here, I created an automated email to be able to sort of add it into the workflow. That's probably a big thing that you'll have to set up. But if we come in here and just edit this email, at the moment you can see I've got your shopping bag is waiting. This is just sort of a really quick sort of email template I sort of threw together. There's some templates as well available in HubSpot that you can sort of just grab immediately and use. But the big thing over here is you've got products and you've also got cart. So for the abandoned cart, you want to sort of drag that in. And here it'll actually be sort of dynamic. So this one will sort of be dynamic depending on who you're sending to. So at the moment, it looks quite sort of bare. There's no product here, just because it's sort of giving me sort of like a little template. But down the bottom, you can also add in some of your products. So if you use the products functionality here on the left-hand side, you can drag that in. And you can sort of, using that product sync that we spoke about earlier, you can sync those products over the HubSpot and it'll show sort of the latest products you've got here. You can also show your top sellers and obviously price high to low. That top seller data will come over from Shopify. So that's a big one that you want to sort of get that sync going, so you can obviously have your top sellers always in your email. These are the two brand new sort of update that's just come in that I feel like kind of always should have been there, but it's just sort of come in now. As I mentioned, they're in beta and they're kind of not quite working at the moment. But hopefully by the time you watch this, you can sign up for it and it'll be working. But essentially what these will do is show you sort of the recently viewed products in your store, so they'll just update dynamically, and also the most viewed. So sort of those products that have been most viewed in your store, but you can also look at it like these are the products that are being most viewed in your store, but they're not being sold. I suppose you can look at that as a differentiation from top sellers, because obviously they're going to be the items that are always being sold the most. But if you look at most viewed, you can put them in there and go, these are the items that are getting viewed the most, and I want to sell more of them. If we preview this as a contact, use you can actually see that this is updated sort of dynamically and shown. It shows you that what item that I sort of left in my cart and I didn't check out with. So when you sort of set up that workflow and send that automated email, it'll sort of grab that contact that's associated with that cart and send them sort of a dynamic email depending on what they actually left in their cart, and it'll give you that button to return to checkout as well. So as you can see, this sort of, will update dynamically, trigger from that workflow, and obviously it's really important that you get that data over, and then obviously this is all tracked through HubSpot. So obviously this will appear sort of on that contact record. You've got the activities that they've sort of gone through, that email's been sent, and also hopefully you'll get that update that they've checked out as well.
I think, like, say for example, if I wanted to sort of send an email on somebody that has like successfully maybe done 3 orders, are you able to rough up what that could look like just on the workflows tool or something like
I think
order count?
I think I can probably use that to shift into lists as well.
Okay, good call. Actually, that's a great call.
A big thing that you can do as well with sort of all that data that's coming over is actually create lists and create some lists. And obviously you can sort of target people that have created orders, and some of that data that's sort of coming over can be used in lists. So if I navigate to lists, obviously you've got a lot of different options here, and you can go through the filters and go through the different order object properties and sort of be quite sort of granular on what you want to filter through here. So I think the biggest thing here is there's this new update that recently came out, and it's called anniversary dates. I mentioned it earlier. You can sort of look at essentially who's placed an order between particular dates. And so if we go into it and we look at the first order close date, so it's sort of that first order that someone's placed. So obviously myself placing that order for items on Jay Sneakers, we can actually look at between 2 dates an exact anniversary date of when I purchased sort of those sneakers. And what you can do there is you can go sort of a year ahead. You can look back and go, who purchased these items between 2 particular dates? And you can go, it's been a year since they've last purchased, maybe shoot them, use that sort of create an email, use a list to sort of bring up all of these contacts that are between these particular dates, and sort of use that list to send an email off going, hey, I reckon you should check out again.
So, and I mean, you could, if you're familiar with HubSpot, like you could create lists on any variables as well, custom properties, dates, order counts, etc.
Yeah, exactly. I think the good thing here is you can sort of use the filter on any object. And thankfully in this list, cart and order objects can easily be found rather than sort of having to navigate anywhere else. So if you want to use lists as well to, rather than sort of create a workflow and send out that automated email, if you wanted to go into creating a list, you can go in here as well and create a list on that status of abandoned as well. And as you can see, it's sort of, you can create a list on looking through that cart as well. So if you didn't want to create a workflow, you didn't want to send those emails automatically, and you wanted to create a list of all the abandoned sort of cart members and send out sort of some, I don't know, different personalized emails, send them out individually, type them up manually, you can do that through here as well.
Well, I think that's the fundamentals of what we've got for Shopify. I think if you're a seasoned vet with HubSpot and you know how HubSpot works, you know the power of lists and obviously the power of workflows and basically pulling that specific information, custom properties or even date specific, If you guys have got any ideas on what you might do, feel free to put them in the comments or in the live chat as well. I've got a number of ideas. I think just like obviously order counts specifically. Spend is a big one as well. Like specifically using lists to be able to look at total spend, and once they hit certain thresholds for spend, then you could potentially use a platform like Message Media or Cinch to go through text message as well, give them coupon codes, etc.
Discounts.
A whole bunch of that sort of stuff can sort of spin up as well. So I think there's a lot of really great opportunities with that as well. The more I think about it, the bigger it gets. So it's sort of
it's almost endless what you can sort of create here with the data that's coming over.
I think that the big part here is just to really sort of like put the tech down and either jump on the whiteboard or a piece of paper and really sort of craft out ideally what that customer journey would look like from your ideal experience, or maybe from an experience that you've kind of been a part of for another brand as well. And don't limit yourself by technology specifically, just try and map out what that would look like, then go into the technology and build it from that. That's the best way possible. So many hours can get lost clicking and stuff around, but I kind of feel like if you kind of try to get a strategy offline a little bit first and then jump into the online space to implement, I think you'll get what you need to get faster, a bit more clarity, a bit more focus on what you need to do too.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I was to go through and create workflows and show examples of everything you can do, I think this would be gone for a few hours.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Again, if there's any questions, just hit us up in the comments or live as well. But to wrap up as well, because we could be talking about this for ages, I think specifically dashboards, so reporting and dashboards, we'll probably use that as a tail end or a butt end for this demo that we've got here. And be able to sort of show us some examples that you've got and what is possible as well.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously if you go to dashboards, you go to reporting dashboards. I sort of created this dashboard earlier, pretty straightforward. All of these essentially reports here are actually just sort of some of the default reports that sort of just come in. So there's nothing here that you sort of will have too many issues with or anything like that, because you can sort of just, I think there's an e-commerce dashboard you can almost click on and it'll sort of generate all these reports for you. But the big things in here that you can see immediately that will be a little bit harder to find in Shopify are sort of obviously the average order value, quite an important thing if you want to sort of trigger and work out what your average order value is per month, and also top ordered products. I think they're the big two that will sort of always stand out, because obviously then we can start looking at these products and obviously almost endless of what you can do there with workflows and everything as well, because obviously sort of that'll filter into there as well. But some of these other ones are that some in company currency, similar to what you were just mentioning. Obviously we can be more granular there and go per customer, but at the moment it'll probably... Per segment. It'll probably just show me at the moment because I'm purchasing all my sneakers.
But you could even go into product types as well, and then obviously average order value for product types.
Exactly,
Customers. Geez.
So it's just almost endless sort of how sort of far you can go in here. But yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of these are the default or almost default reports. So you can sort of just spin these up really quickly. So these are almost just come straight out as is.
All right, well, there we have it. So a really broad overview of the integration with Shopify and HubSpot. So for those that haven't really touched it before, or those that have got it connected, just wanted to go ahead and find some specific things that you can do with it. We've really sort of run through that with Jayden, which is really great. Thank you for setting up Jay's sneakers, etc. But I think if you guys need any more details about what we've spoken about today, we'll put some details in the description as well, and some relevant links to relevant knowledge bases. But this is recorded too, so for those watching live, if you want to go back and pause it, the recording should be available at the end of it as well. But thanks so much for coming in today, mate, and showing us through, I guess, Shopify and how it kind of works. My recommendation for product updates as well, if you go to the top where your business name is in HubSpot, go down to product updates. I always start my day by looking at this screen, specifically on a Monday as well, and looking at the betas that come out. We see some Shopify betas come out quite frequently, but every week there is a whole new raft of different updates for the platform specifically as well. The two updates that we had specifically were the anniversary and also the
So the most viewed.
The most viewed as well. So they only came out this week, which was really great as we were planning this hug as well. So keep eyes peeled for that. But thanks so much, Jayden, for running us through that, mate. It's awesome.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Our next hug for next month is going to be just me on my patent alone. But in the 10 years that I've been running through HubSpot, I've seen all the integrations. I've played with all the integrations. There's custom, there's stuff out of the box. I want to really break down my top 10 over the 10 years that I've basically been using HubSpot, the integrations that you should be aware of and what they can be doing specifically, everything from syncing, everything from data manipulation, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm going to run through it, just be on myself. So that's going to be on March the 13th, where I'll run through those top 10 integrations as well. There'll be a link in the description below as well, and also in the chat. In the description, where you can click on that and register for that. If you can't make it on the day for the live video, don't worry, we can send you the recording afterwards as well. But stay tuned for that one. If you're looking to simplify your process, your operations, and how that kind of works, I think this one definitely will be for you, and also getting insight into stuff that you could potentially be doing a little bit better as well. So thanks, mate. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, you too.
I hope the come down from the Bucks party's going all right, but thanks so much for the Shopify insight as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope Shopify makes your top 10 integrations next week.
There you go. Yeah. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next month. Bye.